What a peg this is, folks. Just come down for a few hours today in the afternoon to a local fishery, just a little secluded pair of ponds really. It's a gorgeous spot down here. I've come across this absolute bunghole of a peg in this corner, a load of reeds and a nice warm wind pushing down into them as well. Just going to have a little snag fishing session, hopefully show you how to get carp out of reeds, because if you don't gear up properly and if you don't get your technique right, you can be made to look stupid by these fish. So I'm going to put this rig right next to them reeds there, see what we can catch. Hopefully we'll have a good session. So give it a go. So I'll talk you through my rig properly a little bit later, but I've basically got a 0.4 float on here, and I'm going to do something that I've not done for ages, and that is to put on a ready tied hook. I've been sent a load of these in the week and they're just absolutely bob on by the looks of it. Really good quality. So we're going to see what they're made of today. I've gone for the size 14 MXC2, which is quite a beefy hook. You do need, as I say, a good gauge hook for snag fishing because it's going to take a lot of stick. And also with heavy elastics, you want quite a big hook as well, because otherwise you'll just lose fish. They'll bump off. So we're going to be fishing with a size 14 today. And the MXC2. There we go. And there. So it's just the usual, very simple loop-to-loop connection there. Away we go. I don't think it's going to be very deep here where I'm fishing, so I'll just get a little small plummet out. Off we go. So as I say, because it's quite clear and shallow, I want to put a little bit of distance between me and the fish, but I don't want to go right across there to that far side, because it's, as I say, it's quite shallow there, and it's kind of fishing from both banks here, so it's not like a far bank. So I'm going to fish right in the middle of this slot here, I think. Just near this reed that's banging about a bit in the wind. This is a really good tip, folks, that I always teach when I'm coaching. I always put a little number 12 shot, I don't know if you can see that, right under my float stem there, so that when I'm plumbing up, I know that if I need to move the float down, sort of a float's length, I can do that. If I need to move it up, if it's just under the surface, I can do that like that, rather than guessing. There's just that little shot there, which is a really good indicator. It just saves you a lot of time, you know, when you, especially if you're shipping out a long way and you have to keep coming back to try and get the right depth. So again, right into this lion's den there. So here, as you can see, I've got a marker on my pole there that I've had from a past session. I'm just going to use that today. Now, one thing you do have to do when you're fishing near snags is just check that there's no reeds or anything overhanging. So you just drag your plummet around a little bit, just to check that there's no reeds where you're fishing and you've got a clear spot, because there can be all kinds of debris all over the place. So as soon as you find a nice clear half, you know, as clear as you can get a lot of the time, and it's reasonably flat, then that's an ideal spot to fish. So my bait today is so simple. Because the water here is quite clear and I don't expect that much trouble from small fish, I'm going to feed micro pellets. So 2mm swim stims. It's important you find a really good micro pellet to use that you can soak up quite a lot and it's not going to break into, you know, break down very quickly or go into a mush or even stick together too much. But those are really decent micros then. And over those I'm going to fish a nice big grain of corn on that size 14 hook. It's just a really, really good combination is that at this time of year when the water's still a bit clear and you're not getting a lot of line bites just yet. And it's because we're fishing in shallow water as well. It's probably a bit negative for fishing in deep open water, but when you're fishing sort of less than, you know, 3 foot, 2.5 foot like we are doing today, you know, that's micro pellets are going to be fine. So I've got a medium flexi pot right on the end of the tip there, about an inch away for accuracy, so we bang on our feed. And all I'm going to do, so the worst thing you can do, I think, because there's already going to be hopefully a fish there, you know, I like to ease my way into a session, so I'm not going to go all guns blazing and put a great big pot in. I think that's the worst thing you can do. There's just too much choice for fish, so it's best to build your peg up with pellets. Unless you're fishing an edge swim where you have to force fishing in the summer or up to a really shallow bank, you know, it's best to start cautiously and build your peg up. So we're going to start by just about filling that up, but not quite. Give it a quick dunk under the water. You press down on the top as well, just before you go out. Press down on the pellets, give it a quick dunk. And then what I'm going to do then is, what I want to do here is create a really, really tight little trap of micro pellets. So I'm going to line up with my marker there. I'm going to put the pole tip on the pot just on this surface of the water, turn it over and let it empty. And the holes in the pot allow it to empty, the water gets in and it's like a vacuum, it pushes it out and it all goes down in one column, which is a nice little tight pile of bait, a bit like a method feeder really on the bottom. And that's what you want to be aiming for. You don't want to be, you know, spreading bait all over from a height, because that's just going to result in foul up fish. So it's a nice little tight trap of bait there. Hopefully we'll have a nice big carp come along. So I've had a few skimmers and I've just started increasing the feed more and more, just to try and pull a carp in really. I've gone up to the large kinder pot now and I'm filling it right to the brim, still with micro pellets, and it is working to an extent. I am getting less little indications from silverfish, which is good. And hopefully it's getting towards that time of the afternoon now where it's carp o'clock. So I'm just, I thought if there was one living in this, normally when you're fishing in a reed bed, if there's a carp there, you'll normally catch it pretty quickly, or at least hook it. There obviously wasn't one living there this afternoon when I got here. So I think it's more of a case that I'm going to have to feed to try and pull one in later, as I say, later on in the evening, afternoon now. What I will say as well is a bit of a disclaimer here. This is no place for match poles and match kits. It's just a recipe for disaster, and it'll end in tears. So by all means, you know, get your carp pole out here. Margin poles. I'm using my my actual carp pole. It's 14.5 meters. Power kits. Get well cut back power kits with big bushes in for them heavy hollow elastics that you need. If when you strike and the fish doesn't come properly at the reeds and it gets in them, keep your pole high, because by doing that there's less line in the water, it goes straight up. So if you put your pole low, then that line's, you know, right through the water there, and that's when fish are going to you know, snap you and get you around reeds and things. So keep the pole high, try and get the fish up near the surface, and the nearer they are to the surface, the easier they are to get out. That's just true of all snag fishing. Go fish on. It's tearing off down the lake now. I managed to get it straight out, luckily, with that initial strike, and now it's as I say, it's just going off right up down the lake now. I'm hanging on, and just a case of I've got good gear on, so I know it shouldn't break me. It's just a case of waiting for it to stop and keeping the pole low, and then bring it back when it's ready, really. And then it might be interesting. It could be interesting when it comes down here. Hopefully I have to try and keep it this way. That's why I've placed my roller behind me this way, so I'm shipping this way rather than straight back into the snag there. So it's just thinking about. Oh well, folks, I'm absolutely gutted. I've just checked my camera footage and it stopped recording halfway through the fight of that fish. I think it exceeded the maximum clip length, which I didn't realise. It's 30 minutes on an A7 III. I didn't know that, so as I say, I'm still learning. So yeah, proper gutted about that, because it's proper fight as well. Managed to get it straight out, thankfully. It's tore off along that far bank, and then when I've got it under control and it's come back towards me, it's gone absolutely berserk under my feet, and it has snagged me briefly in the reeds, just to my right, just down there, it snagged me briefly. I put a few sections on and managed to just lift it out, and it come back around again, and then it's run down there again and tried to do me, and I've had to lift my pole right up, my top kit, and thankfully I stopped it getting in there and eventually got it in the net. But yeah, that was eventful. Well folks, look at that snag fish, big chunky mirror that was living in that snag there. Immaculate condition as well. I don't think these get caught very much. I don't think many people know about this place, to be honest, but absolutely gorgeous fish that. Really chuffed with that. We'll pop him back. Right, I just want to talk to you a little bit about what happened there and how that fish came out quite quickly. Now, I like to fish with a little bit of a length of line when I'm fishing near a snag. You know, quite a little bit longer than normal, and there's a very good reason for this. And that's probably the shortest I'll go, to be honest. Sometimes if it's an extreme snag, I'll use 2 foot of line, and the reason's quite simple. It's to get the fish away from the snag on the first strike. Okay, so when you hit the fish, if you're using a really short length of line near a snag like that, for example, you're gonna hit that fish, or hook that fish as the pole's sort of in motion, so it's not at its full potential yet. It's only sort of a little bit way up, and the fish is going to feel that straight away, and it's going to be able to get into a snag a lot of the time. Now if you use a longer length of line, what's going to happen then is when your float goes, you can strike away from the snag. Now that connects with the fish then, when the pole is further round, okay, so further out the snag, and there's more force and leeway there to persuade the fish immediately out the snag, and that's when I get the pole up as well, as I was talking about. So it's, as I say, that's the reason I use a slightly longer line. It's because of the momentum more than anything else, that it connects with the fish when the pole's fully, you know, struck, as opposed to a little bit way up, a little bit of a way up. And I think that's a really good tip for snag fishing. I have used a back shot on it today, about halfway. I think it's about a 9, that, just because there's a bit of a chop there from the wind. Now my snag flow is, I normally use wire for carp, but where there's an extreme snag, wire in the stem, where there's an extreme snag, I'll use fiberglass, which is again, it's weighted, not quite as much as wire, but it's weighted, but it doesn't bend like wire does. So if the float gets into the reeds, it's not going to be bent and mangled and destroyed. So as I say, I've got a 0.4 on today, a little cut down 0.4. I like to fish a little bit heavier for carp, just to nail the bait there, you know. Could have fished 4x12, but I wanted to nail the bait with that wind today. Again, I've just got a simple bulk that's been a bit destroyed by that fish, but it's basically just a little space bulk. That is on 022 mainline, okay? Now, you can fish heavy mainlines for carp near snags, because if they touch reeds, you don't want them to snap. So that's why I'm using an 022 mainline. Sometimes I use 026, you know, or you can use 030 or something sometimes, which is, you know, getting on for 12-15 pound. But it doesn't matter so much, because you're still using like an 020 or an 018 hook length this time of year. So as I say, I've got 6 inches of 018, because it's quite clear. You can step that up quite soon to 020 probably, and I've got a size 14. It's an MXC2 hook. Now, just a word on my elastic. I'm using hollow elastic near snags, okay, because although I do use slick a lot, and those hybrid type elastics, they're a little bit too stretchy for extreme snags. So this is our grade 14 core elastic, which, to be honest with you, is much more like, you know, a 16. It's quite, you know, healthy, brutal stuff. And what I do here, that's slack at the minute. I'm going to tighten that up. You can tighten that up simply by using your puller kit. Now, if when you fit your elastic, you put a bead on between your knot and your actual puller slot, that means you can simply pull it up and alter the tension of the elastic. So if you need to, you know, ramp it up, if you're losing fish, you need a tighter elastic, just simply, you know, take some off that so it's hanging out like that. And that works really, really well. And often the fish, when it runs out into open water, the fish will often pull that bead through too, so you'll be playing it on the original length of elastic. Really, really good tip is that. Just finally as well, you'll notice I've got the old school crow's foot. And the reason is, with these really heavy lines and heavy elastics, I don't like having Dacron. I don't like having like a link or anything that's a weakness point. So I like that line straight onto that crow's foot. You know, it's a thick hollow elastic, durable hollow. It's not going to, as long as you check it, you know, reasonably frequently, it's not going to cut straight through it. So that's why you can't use this for slapping a rig over, you know, fishing shallow, because it'll tangle. But you know, you can only do that on the deck. But again, you know, that's the reason I do that. You know, just made up to catch that fish. What a cracking fish, you know. It's not a particularly heavily stocked water. It's not easy, so I was only ever fishing for 1 or 2 bites, I think, off big fish. So yeah, really made the afternoon that, and I hope you enjoyed a bit of that action there briefly at the end. I'm going to come back here. It's such a nice place, as I say, so let me know what you think. Let me know if you enjoyed the video, any more ideas or anything to go out and do, but yeah, enjoyed that. So yeah, as ever, until next time folks, Thank you very much for watching the video, and tight lines.